So, good evening, everyone. I'm Donna Deniswood, Denisco Design. Got a large team assembled here. We're gonna test this again to make sure it still works.
Great, thank you very much. And my name is Jason St. Peter. I'm a member of the Berkshire Hills Regional School District. I'm also chair of the building committee. Again, I thank you all for coming here in person, and for those of us online joining us. Really appreciate it. This is our third or fourth community forum, so I'm gonna go fast on some of the stuff that we've talked about before, but not too fast. So those of you who haven't heard it are up to speed. Let's go forward. So the school building committee is a mixture of school committee members, administrators, teachers, students, and a big presence from community members who bring their own expertise in a lot of the building trades, architecture, et cetera.
Sorry, we're having technical difficulties. I have to share my screen. Sorry.
That's okay. We're used to it by now.
Yeah, I know.
5+ years past
Okay.
COVID. It's
Okay.
We're good. Okay. Let me just make sure I'm backwards. All right. Well,
Is it working?
it didn't go backwards. I'm not going to try to go forward at this point.
Try again.
Great. So we're really lucky, the building committee, to have Skanska as our building project manager. John is here, as well as Nick and Victoria. And then for our architectural team, Denisco Design has partnered with William Ron Associates, and Donna Denisco is here, as well as Jeff, Sam, and Andy. So they're going to all be speaking later on in the presentation. But we're really fortunate to have both groups, and they've really helped us a lot to get to the point where we're at. I'm going to finish up by saying where we've come from, and then I'm going to pass it on to Christopher to give us some background on the educational needs, and we'll go forward from there. It's been broad consensus that we need an updated school. This has included the MSBA since 2010. The MSBA is the Massachusetts School Building Authority. They're the ones who provide a significant financial helping to new projects, and as well as lend their expertise. They're involved in the vast majority of public school built new buildings, as well as redos. So we're grateful for their help. So the current monument, was opened in 1968. The educational theories that went into it started in the late 50s, early 60s. The building was, started being built in the early to mid 60s, and then finally opened in 1968. It was a great building for the first 30 or 40 years, but, for the last 15, 20 years, it just isn't doing what it needs to do. It does not meet our current educational needs, classroom size, labs, vocational spaces, basically everything about it. It really limits our ability to support high quality learning. It's really the only high school in Berkshire County that was built during this time period that hasn't been renovated or replaced. Taconic and Pittsfield, brand new. Wacona and Central Berkshire, brand new. Mount Greylock and Northern Berkshire has a complete renovation as well as addition. And really, for those of you who took the tour, this existing school is not a reflection of who we are. It hasn't been for the last 15, 20 years. It's an aging facility, and it's exceeded its useful life. All the mechanical structures, the heating and air conditioning, they're obsolete. We can't even get parts for it anymore. We have to hire metal shops to fabricate parts. They're not going to be able to do that much longer. That's just one small example, basically everything else. And the continued investment required to maintain an outdated building with limited educational benefit, it's just a bad return on our investment. And whether this project goes through or not, we're going to have to, if we are left with this building, we're going to have to sink, close to $100 million just to get it up to current code and just replace what's here with zero educational benefit. So, the time has come. There's really no going back. We need to do something. The building committee has, going forward from a financial standpoint as well as a educational standpoint, feels like a new building is the way to go. And with that, I'm going to, what Christopher is going to kind of talk now as to some of the educational needs and benefits. This is not
Hi, everybody. My name is Christopher Barnes. I'm new principal this year. been a few months, it's been 9 months or so, so I don't feel so new anymore, but I haven't been in this building for a long time, and many of you have been here for a long time. So I'll just speak to a few of the things that, are sort of needed in this day and age with regard to education. It's been pointed out by many, many people, this building is almost 60 years old. It was built when people were using typewriters. We don't use typewriters anymore. We barely use computers. We're using the ones in our pockets. The size of the classrooms is very different from an MSBA standpoint than what they were 60 years ago. The computer labs, the science labs are very different as well. So we have a lot of antiquated structures and facility infrastructure within our building. We have uneven heat for classrooms, and we have interior rooms. I know that as a person who really loves the natural light, having interior rooms, particularly for learning, we have we have two different sort of class schedules. We run on a sort of a rotation through the week. Some of our classes are 42 minutes long, and then other classes are 82, I think it is. And it's a long time to be inside an interior room, no light. You may have several classes in those kinds of rooms. A new building would afford, something like just a better learning environment. We have rooms with different temperatures in them. This is something else the kids complain about. Listen, we go here and it's really warm. We go over there, it's cold. We go over there, it's leaking. So, as was pointed out, there's a lot of things that need to be fixed. With regard to class sizes and the design of classrooms, yes, this building has served us well. We can still teach, and we're still teaching in these rooms, and we're still educating kids. On the other hand, we could have a better opportunity with a new building with class sizes that are a little larger, not according to what we've said we want, but according to what MSBA says we need. Take that, fit it into a science classroom. There's a lot going on in science. A lot has changed in 60 years. So I just see a great opportunity to really bolster all the kinds of programming that we have. And we start to think about our CVTE program. Right now we have 3 CVTE Chapter 74 programs. We have the auto, we have early childhood, and we have the horticulture. All of them really antiquated spaces and structures. Again, the MSBA offers or says or tells us that we need to have this square footage and we need to have this sort of thing in. Some of these programs are really exploding. I don't know if you had an opportunity to tour. The auto area is small for a Chapter 74 program. The pre-K is, or I should say early childhood, is really sort of fit into a space that it wasn't designed for, or it doesn't seem to be. I don't know who designed it back in the day, but it doesn't seem to be designed for that. And we fit that in there. It's a really thriving program as well. And horticulture is almost off campus, all the way down the hill. The kids have to walk down there. Also, we have antiquated structures and spaces down there as well. So overall, just with thinking about those kinds of things, there's a real opportunity here to serve our kids in a greater way than we already are. This is a fantastic community. I'm very happy to be here. I hope to be here for a long time. I hope to be here and see a new building. I'm really excited about that. And I think that we can really offer a lot through a new building. I hope I caught all the, well, I think there's 1 or 2 other things. When you think about special spaces for students with special needs, or special sort of instructional spaces that we need for small grouping, or for kids who are having challenges in a certain kind of way. All of this would also be part of a new building. I'll call it a package right now. And we could serve all of our populations much better. And I'm sure everybody here knows that we'd also be looking to add a 4th Chapter 74 program, which would be electrical. Let's just electricity. Thank you. Electricity. Those are a few of the highlights. I think we could do really well with a new building. So I hope that covers it.
Yeah, that's great. All right, let's see. There we go. Sorry.
I'm just going to stand over here and on behalf of our entire team, we really want to say it is wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to be part of such an incredible project, and what a wonderful opportunity it is to impact so many students' lives. As Jason had said, the MSBA, though, is a really important partner in this whole process. You all submitted a statement of interest back in 2021. 58 districts submitted a statement of interest. 17 were selected. So MSBA has also said that you, from an educational perspective, an enrollment perspective, and facilities perspective, greatly need a new school. So with MSBA's support, and they actually do a lot of checks and balances. They don't want us to overbuild anything. They're very cost conscious. It's really important that the money that they want, that they give you, is put into educational programming. So it's a good checks and balances. They know what's going on in the Commonwealth as it relates to what cost and what it should cost, as well as they have, as Jason mentioned, guidelines. They don't want you to overbuild, but they also want to make sure that you're not underserving any student population, such as students with special needs. So with all of that, it is an arduous process, but we welcome it. It keeps us all in check. They make sure that we're thinking through everything. And we are currently in the schematic design phase. We completed the feasibility study. I'll get into that real quickly. In December, we selected a preferred solution. And now what we're doing is we're refining the preferred solution with lots of, as you can see, we're starting to really think about what is the building going to look like. We have the program set, the square footage set, and pretty much the cost, and we'll get into that. So where we are today is we're about halfway through schematic design, and we will be submitting the schematic design to MSBA at the end of June. At that point, MSBA will review it, and if they accept our submission, then they will also vote in August to approve it and fund the project. And then we have a very important date, November 4th, which is when we'll be asking the voters in the 3 communities to vote for the project. When we started the whole process, we wanted to know what was important to you, right? It's your building. It needs to be the reflection of your 3 communities, and it really needs to support your students. So what we heard, most importantly, cost, and it has to be a sound investment, right? Keep it simple. Make sure that good design inspires, but it also has to belong to the Berkshires. And then what was really important was the connections between programs, your CBTE or your career tech and comprehensive programs. They're at odds with each other in this building. And we really want to integrate and be proud and get people excited about what every student is learning and interested in. Health, safety, and wellness is important. No natural light, no air conditioning, no ventilation, right? So all of that is really important. And sustainability is key in everything that we do. And we'll get into that in just a minute. And then how can we make this a truly community asset? So we have the auditorium, we have the gymnasium, we're creating a true alternative PE space, or like a dance studio or a weight room, or it could be used for community use as well. But even starting thinking about, we can program the building and design the building in a way that certain portions of it can be open and used, whether it's for adult evening programming or other types of programming that can be used for the community. We had several visioning sessions at the very beginning, which were also extremely important. Obviously, that's almost where you start from day one. We met with the senior leadership at the district level, but we had several meetings with the staff. It was really important to hear from them what was important to them for a new school. How can we make your lives better and richer? So again, career tech and academic integration was really important. As well as the integration of special education spaces. The building needs to be flexible. This building is not flexible. It was designed in a totally different era, and this building is going to be with you for 50 plus years. So how can we design a building that will adapt to the programs and needs as they change over time? So back in December, the building committee had to make a decision. What was the preferred solution? We studied a code repair option only, which is where Jason's coming up with about $100 million. That was quickly dismissed. And then we had to make a decision whether it was a renovation in addition to the existing building, and we had a few options for new construction. After a lot of discussion, deliberation, we had the staff weigh in. That was really important. This is your building. You live here. And so it was really important. And actually, we had a community meeting right before a final decision was made. So ultimately, a new school, alternative 3E, was selected as the preferred solution. You can see, hopefully, there's a red dotted outline right behind the building. That's the existing building. The new school we built in front of the existing building, built into the hill. So it is a 3-story building on the front, and it's 1.5 stories in the back. So we're taking advantage of the topography, but we're able to integrate all of the programs and maximize the footprint and space. So other important considerations in part of the deliberations were, of course, it has to meet the educational program, the ideal relationships, the integration of the career tech programs. But it was really important that we created a new entrance and a sense of arrival, right? We didn't even know where the front door was when we first got here. So it was really important to say, hey, we're here and we're important. Having this as a solution, when the existing building is demolished, you actually get an additional field, which will be in close proximity to the other fields. So that was another benefit to this solution. This is the least disruptive solution. We'll keep the existing parking lot during construction. So students and staff do not have to be displaced during construction. And then it still maintains the campus connection. We will be bringing horticulture up to the building, but we'll still have some buildings at the bottom of the hill, but more importantly, the elementary and middle schools. Well, so keeping that connection, staff are shared, and so aren't students. So it's really a wonderful campus. And then after all, shouldn't say most importantly, but of course, it was the least expensive option. So here we are, when we submitted as the preferred schematic in December. There was a question about which construction delivery method. There are 2 different types that were allowed in Massachusetts. There was a construction manager and a design bid build. And if you have questions, just come see me. Otherwise, we could spend a whole day talking about the 2. But just to give you an idea of where everything landed, right? Total construction cost, construction manager is slightly more than a general contractor. The soft costs, total project costs is this line here, anywhere from 154, I should say, to 164. MSBA, as you can see, is giving over $50 million to this project. The school will be an all-electric building. It will be sustainable. It will reach the stretch code requirements. So you will receive money from MassSave, which is a conglomerate of our utility companies. So they're actually saying, if you make this an all-electric building, we're going to incentivize you. We're going to actually give you money. And if you use different types of energy sources, we'll even give you more money. And I'll get into that in 1 second. So that's a given. We've signed the contract with MassSave. So this is wonderful news. And then you'll see what the local share is, anywhere from 99 to 109 or 100 to 110. Since then, we heard back from MSBA and we found out that they made an error. We'll take it now. It's better now than later, but they made an error in the formula for your reimbursement. So it was about a 4 or 5% difference or something. Was significant. Yeah. So anyway, so you'll see that right now, the building committee decided to go with the least expensive construction method. We have a great team. We have a great project manager, Denisco and Ron. We've been doing this for a very long time. We're confident we can go with the least expensive construction delivery method. So that brought the cost to $155 million. MSBA's reimbursement has actually gone up significantly. and we'll take advantage of the Mass Save incentives. So currently where we sit today is a local share somewhere around 93 or $94 million. And there are other potential opportunities for savings, but they're federal, it's federal based, so we don't really want to count on that just yet. That's fair.
Well said.
That's nice. That's a nice way of saying it, right? Okay, so just as we were talking about sustainability, again, really important. Everyone's incentivizing us to do the right thing. They realize sometimes that there's actually some added costs. MSBA is giving us an additional 4 points for making this a green building, a green school, which is great. That will help offset the costs. And Mass Save is also giving us some added incentive. So the design of the building will be net zero ready. So solar panels are not included in the project, but the building will be designed so you can come in right afterwards and install your solar panels, right? If you want to be completely net zero energy, you probably need to install some canopies in the parking lots, but we'll have that infrastructure also built in during the design of the project. Other consideration costs are the construction, which we've talked about, and operating costs, right? What a great way to save money year over year over year. How can we make this the most energy efficient building and even possibly reduce to lower it to zero year over year by adding solar panels later? That's a huge operating expense that could be eliminated. Carbon emissions is important, as is embodied carbon. And we don't talk a lot about healthy indoor environment, but fresh air, daylighting, views, all of that really helps staff and students perform better. Quality of the open space, we're actually reducing the amount of pavement by reducing that large mass of the existing building, and we're giving you an extra field. And we do have to be careful not to over design or make the systems too complex that the staff that have to run this building day in and day out, it's too sophisticated. So we're going through a lot of that. We'll make sure the training's in place. We'll make sure that there's informed decisions based on their input. And then climate resiliency is also real. So we're spending a lot of time thinking about how can we make the site be as climate resilient. We know we've got droughts, we've got long periods of droughts, and we have long periods of hard rain, right? So how do we design the building, but also the site to be able to be climate resilient? First step, we have the building committee is very excited about the opportunity of ground source heat pumps, or also called geothermal wells. You have them at the middle school. These are going to be slightly different, but it's the same premise. These will be only 500 feet instead of probably 1,500 feet or whatever they were supposed to be, the standing wells. So these won't have the same problems that you currently have at the middle school. But we started drilling. First test was to see, is the site capable of accepting all of these wells? So I don't know if anyone saw it, was right in the middle of February, this massive rig that was on site at the bottom of the hill. So this is your site. It's quite impressive. Anyway, so we've done our test well. It's complete. Site is clean. We said that we were supposed to have the report March 24th, and we're still waiting for it. But the drilling went as well as we could have hoped. And now what we're doing is we're waiting to make sure that the conductivity within the well, we need to know what that is to determine how many wells we need. So that's where we are with that, but it went as well as it possibly could have. And with that, I'm going to turn over to Jeff, and he'll walk you through where we are today. And it should work.
All right. Thank you. This is going to be, yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Jeff Oxley. I'm an architect at Tenisco Design. So as this phase of the project has progressed, we've also advanced the design of kind of that 3E alternative both on the site and within the building. So I just wanted to go ahead and point out some of those refinements that are being made.
Speak up a little.
Yeah,
Sure.
thank you again.
Sorry. Point out some of those refinements that we've made as the building has gone forward. So this is the proposed current site plan. That is the proposed footprint of the building located in white there. That hasn't changed too much. Just one brief housekeeping note. North is actually to the left-hand side of the page here. So as we refer to the ordinal directions or even on those elevations over there, just remember that north is actually over to the left, and that's up towards Stockbridge, and south is down to the right, down towards Great Barrington. So the existing building located to the east of the proposed building is shown in the dashed outline. And once that building is demolished, that will be a series of roadway networks in front of the building with the proposed practice field off to the east there. That has basically remained unchanged, but refined since PSR. Continuing kind of clockwise around the site, there's a south driveway that leads down to a service area, an agriculture horticulture building on the south of the building. And the primary departure from the PSR is that roadway, instead of stopping down on the south side of the building, actually continues down the hill and continues through to a connection with the elementary school parking lot. And the driving factor behind that is primarily for emergency vehicles to have a second access to the site. However, it starts to do some nice things tangentially with the site plan and the vehicular circulation. So that roadway will come down and kind of connect to where the elementary school parking lot ends and have an outlet out onto Monument Valley Road. The most of the existing agriculture horticulture buildings will remain down at the bottom of the hill. We will need to demolish some of the smaller structures to make room for that roadway, but by bringing the academic portion of the agriculture horticulture program up to the school building, we have opportunities to recreate those structures immediately adjacent to the school. We'll also be providing a pedestrian walkway from the school down to those buildings, separate from the vehicular access. Continuing to work around the site, there's a large area outside that's linear adjacent to the west facade. And that can be programmed based on the types of academic programs that are occurring at each spot along that elevation. I'll point those out once we get into the floor plans. Continuing around the building, there's an opportunity for another educational outdoor space at the northwest corner. And there's a small parking area dedicated to the early childhood CTE program with an associated playground area located off the main driveway there. One advantage to that location for that program is that unlike now where you have to drive around the entire building to get to that early childhood program, now they'll have direct access to the main driveway. The main driveway out onto Stockbridge Road remains basically as is for the first couple hundred feet. It's slightly modified as it comes up the hill and then arrives at the main entrance to the new proposed building shown here at that upper left-hand corner and indicated by that red arrow. One advantage to locating the building here is that the existing parking lot can remain mostly intact. I mean, we won't be spending money on additional parking. Everything else to the north there, the tennis courts, softball field, and the existing storage buildings are existing to remain. So you see all of the different kind of roadway networks located in front of the school, and we just want to walk through a diagram of how that all works. It looks kind of like a conglomeration right now. So car traffic is shown in these blue arrows that come up the new driveway, reconfigured driveway, make a counterclockwise loop in front of the building, and then proceed back out down the main driveway. Cars will also be able to exit and enter the parking lot off of that driveway. There'll be a small driveway located off of that main circulation loop for vans that may require additional time unloading or loading and without disrupting the main vehicular traffic through the site. So one of the advantages to adding that emergency access drive is that now buses can potentially use that as well. So bus traffic could come up the driveway, again, make a counterclockwise loop, and then proceed back down the driveway without ever having to mix with car traffic on the site. By doing two counterclockwise loops, passengers are always embarking and disembarking on the right-hand side of the vehicle, which is advantageous. Potentially, someone could drive from the elementary school parking lot up to the high school without having to get onto Monument Valley Road or Stockbridge Road. Service traffic could enter the main driveway in front of the building and then down to the service area located to the south and then proceed out that same driveway. And this is kind of the crux of that whole circulation move. Emergency vehicle traffic will now have 2 access points off-site and be able to circulate 360 degrees around the proposed building. Some areas that we're working on right now are shown here in these highlighted circles. We have the opportunity to create an outdoor classroom area located kind of equidistant between the proposed field, the entrance to the building, and the parking lot. We're continuing to work on the front entry views and approach to the building. We want that to be immediately apparent when you arrive at the school, but also be inviting with a little bit of shelter as people are waiting or being dropped off. This area number 3 here is the early childhood program located adjacent to where it is in the building. We have the opportunity at the northwest corner to create some outdoor space for the art classrooms. 5 is a potential outdoor space for student dining adjacent to the cafeteria. And then 6 is the greenhouse and agriculture program area located towards the south to take advantage of sun exposure. So getting into the floor plans of the building itself, we've made some refinements since the preferred schematic report. The main entrance to the building located here at the upper left-hand corner, adjacent to that drop-off in the parking area. These blocks of color inside represent different program elements in the building. So this light green area immediately adjacent to the entrance is the administration area, the guidance area, things like the nurse's office. Moving clockwise around the plan, the main public space here is the auditorium and stage, located in blue. Adjacent to that in light blue is the music program. The other main public space on this floor, located in red, is the gymnasium and locker rooms and ancillary support spaces. Down towards the south end of the building is those 2 spaces in teal. That's the CBTE programs on this floor. That's the auto shop and the electricity program. Moving over to the west bar, the first floor, there's a series of science classrooms. And in the middle of the floor is an overlook down to the cafeteria, which is located on the lower level. You'll see how that starts to manifest itself as a hub on the exterior elevations. And then the northwest bar, located in the light purple, are the general academic spaces, and then the dark purple are the special education spaces on this floor. There are really 3 points. There's a stair here, a stair in the middle, a stair down in the south end where you can move up or down throughout the building. So if you were to take any of those up to the upper level, it's really the balance of the general academic spaces organized into clusters of classrooms. There's a cluster here, and a cluster here. These are all located centrally around the library and media center. Is really the hub of this floor of the building, located in the middle in that yellow space. So immediately on top of the cafeteria. Moving down to the ground floor is the cafeteria itself, located in the middle of that floor, with opportunities outside of it on the site for student activity. On this floor, there are the balance of the science classrooms and the agriculture horticulture program. Again, by locating these down on the ground floor, there's the opportunity for those programs to spill out onto this outdoor area. In the northwest corner of this floor is the advanced manufacturing program, computer science program, and art classrooms, which all take advantage of its proximity to this terrace area. And then located finally in that northeast corner there is the early childhood program. And Andy's going to walk us through in a little bit more detail the auditoriums.
Thanks, Jeff. I'm Andy Jonick with William Ron Associates. This is the auditorium. It's a 450-seat auditorium designed for multiple uses, theater performances, musical theater, music performances, whether it's the band or the orchestra, town meetings, lectures, getting the entire school together. It's a compact, efficient design, but it also, it's maybe a little bit hard to see here. There is a mezzanine. Well, let me point this out. When you come in, you can see the doors there. You're on the cross aisle. That's right off the main entrance to the school in the lobby that Jeff explained. And you can come in and go, oh, there's, thanks.
It's the button at the top. There you go.
There we go. All right, thanks, Donna. The cross aisle here. So you can move up or down in these two aisles. One of the key things that we've included in the design is accessibility to the stage. That is something that is a feature of the current auditorium. And we've maintained that where you can, accessible seats are located here. So for awards, you can go right up around the edge onto the stage without having to go behind the proscenium. If you move up the stairs here, there is a mezzanine. So you can imagine, you can kind of see this photo here where when you have a full house, people on the stage will really feel enveloped by the audience. You'll be able to see community members, fellow students across the theater. There is a control room. There are catwalks. There are, there'll be acoustic measures like an acoustical shell that will be able to drop down for musical performances to reflect that sound out into the audience. The library, we had a couple great meetings with Kara reviewing what she does in this library, which was pretty amazing to us. She, from time to time, clears this out. They had dance performances in here with people from Jacob's Pillow. So, she's really running this like a modern library where it's about books, but it's about a lot of events, student support, student activities. So we tried to build this into the design of the future library. And as Jeff said, this is the hub up on that upper level. We've got classrooms on either side of it. So it's actually somewhat similar to what you see here with a couple of significant differences. This is the circulation desk. You come in here, the main central hallway of the school is to the left. This is the corridor going out to the wings. So there's a lot of transparency here. So you can imagine if there are windows here looking into a hallway, those students are invited in. And this is you'll see this in some of the exterior elevations, but this is a wall of glass where you're looking out to Monument Mountain. So if you imagine that wall there with shades, but full transparency looking out to Monument Mountain, it should be a pretty dramatic space for the students to gather. So we're really excited about that. There's other features. There's flexibility built into this where you have a kind of a classroom area here. There's some quiet rooms, librarian's workroom and office. And everything will be movable. All the stacks are on casters, much like they are here, so they can be moved out of the way and they'll have that same flexibility. This library is a little bit larger than the one we're in. And then finally, classrooms. These classrooms are 825 square feet, larger than many of the existing classrooms. They will all have natural light. There are operable vents in the windows for fresh air, but there's also, these are modern mechanical systems, so there'll be fresh air delivered mechanically through the HVAC system. But they're organized efficiently. The teaching wall is on that long wall, so the students will have, ideal views to the teaching wall and to the teacher. These are interchangeable. They can be used for math, English, social studies. Sam.
So again, I'm Sam Lasky, and just going to jump ahead a couple. Let's go to this slide here. Figure out where that pointer is. So this a number of options here, but what I want to emphasize is both Jeff and Andy spoke about the cafeteria and the
the library that's directly above it. And those two spaces at the center, kind of the heart of the school, as kind of the building blocks for the rest of what the school would look like. So the idea that you'll see in a lot of these images is that facing out towards Stockbridge Road is that along that main facade of the building that you see from the road, you would see the cafeteria with the library above it, with the classrooms left or right of it, and that space really becomes the focal point of what you see when you're driving along the road and looking out. So we kind of started with that as an organizing principle in relationship to what Jeff and Andy were describing in the floor plans. Really, as Donna was emphasizing, we were kind of designing this by starting with how the floor plans would work, what is the right relationship between the classrooms one to another, and getting those things right. And then with the function of the building, getting that to work right, then trying to think about what that means for what the building looks like. So one of the first things that we looked at is also window patterns. And so what we're going to show today is just a number of different things that we've been looking at. We've presented some of this to the building committee that we're working with, the subcommittee of that building committee. We have some feedback we've gotten. We can share some of that. And some of these, the first three drawings on the left here, these boards, they're kind of gray and white color, which isn't necessarily to mean that the building would be gray or white. What we were trying to do is kind of take the color or the material out of the equation for a moment and just look at kind of the shape of the building. And then in some of the images on the right, look at possible colors or materials for the building. So I'll just try to walk through those quickly. One thing we looked at was different patterns of windows. You can see here, I should just say pretty much everything you're going to see tonight here is that west facade looking that you would see from Route 7 as you drive by and look at the building. And that's the facade you're seeing here. It's 3 stories high. Here's the cafeteria and the library above it. So, we looked at a number of different patterns of windows, sort of individual windows paired in each classroom. This idea of maybe taking 2 windows on 2 different floors and joining them together to look like one bigger window. And so there are a number of things we've been looking at here, and some of the feedback we got sort of gravitated more towards these 2 than this upper one. I think people liked the idea that some of these windows joined together and felt a little bigger in their scale, and not so many little tiny windows everywhere. So that's just feedback that we got at an earlier meeting, but we're welcome, and I would love to hear what you all think. So then the next couple slides, as I said, we're looking at kind of the shape of the building, and hopefully you can see the difference here. On the left are a series of options we looked at that I would just say are more rectangular in their shape. And on the right, we looked at an idea of introducing at that northwest corner that Jeff was describing, a kind of gable shape like you see on a lot of buildings, and kind of dormer, so that this 3-story high face of the building would kind of look more like it's 2 stories high, with the 3rd floor looking a little bit different from that. And we were exploring that as an idea to try to affect your sense of how big the building is, make it seem a little bit smaller by doing that. And sorry.
I have a question if you're willing to take one.
Sure, let me just explain one last thing so people know what they're looking at. So just to explain that again, this is, if you were turning into the site that Jeff was describing, if you're in the car, you're driving in, this is kind of the first view of the building you'd really be seeing as you turn onto the site. Again, the more
linear rectangular shape versus this kind of shaped end, gable end with the dormers. And again, some of the feedback we got from the building committee, the subcommittee, was a kind of preference maybe in for some of these that seem to break down the scale of the building, have it look sort of like 2 stories with this 3rd floor that's a little different. So that's some of the feedback that we got. I think, Peter, you're saying someone had a question on
Did
that?
you have a question?
How tall is the building?
Oh, good question. I'll go back 1 slide here. So, one of the great things about this site and being on the hillside is that it's different heights in different areas. So, along Route 7, this is about 45 feet high here. And then the hillside slopes down about another 15 feet until you're kind of level with the road there. And oops, I'm sorry, I'm going the wrong direction. Might be a little bit hard to tell, but as you come around from where it's 3 stories tall here towards the east side, the entrance, main entrance is just around the corner here. You can see the hill is sloping up. And so actually when you get to the entrance, it's really only 2 stories there, not 3 anymore. And so because the building is kind of the lower level, the ground floor that Jeff was describing is kind of built into the hillside. It means that when you pull around to the front door, the building will seem smaller when you're on that side of the building than on the Stockbridge Road side. So just one of the things we were trying to do to kind of nestle it into its hillside setting. And I think that's a kind of nice feature that it's not always, it won't always seem exactly the same as you move around the building. It'll seem taller in one area, a little shorter in other areas, so it varies as you go around the building. So we started to look at materials and colors, and these are just images, not to say the building would necessarily look like any of these other buildings, but just to show some warmer tones, some lighter tones, some sort of medium gray tones. There's a mix of things that are brick, masonry here. There are different other materials that could have a similar color to these warm bricks, not necessarily, doesn't have to be red brick. So we've looked at a number of things, and this last image here is just showing a number of different combinations. So for example, this might be a warmer color masonry at the lower floors, and then maybe a lighter color, light medium gray on the upper floors. And we looked at some that were kind of a darker tone, so we've just been looking at a variety of options for what colors make sense, how does it feel on the site. And there've been, I would say, if I go back a couple slides, there seemed like there was a lot of interest in kind of these 2 options in earlier meetings. I'd say there might have been more variation of opinion about some of this question of which colors and mix of materials people liked. But in general, the feedback we've gotten maybe tends towards maybe 1 and 5 that you see here, where there's a kind of, warmish tone. I would say wood tone, but not that it would be made of wood, but the way that wood has a kind of warm color to it at the base, and maybe a slightly lighter color up at the dormer level of the building that helps just make the building seem a little bit smaller. So we have these printed out as well, and happy to take questions about that or gather around these at some point and hear any feedback that you all have. What I want to emphasize is that the design of the exterior of the building kind of happens in steps. We're at the beginning of that process. We will, as Donna described, go through a process to have the building priced one more time to confirm the pricing that was shown on screen. That's part of the process we go through with the Mass School Building Authority, requirement from them. And if this project continues along, this is not the only bite at the apple. There'll be lots of time to further develop what this looks like, really choose the exact color and type of brick and look at real samples of materials and go through that. So I want to make sure everyone understands that this is the beginning of developing what the building would look like. This isn't, you know, finalized or done. This is something we do kind of together through the process of the design. Are you up, Peter?
Yeah, I am. So I get to just finish up with a couple things and then transition to questions, and thanks for sharing tons of information with you. And I've been doing this for years, and it feels like decades. And even tonight I learned a couple new things. So thanks for your patience on it. We hope as we continue along in this that we can really articulate a strong case and reason why this is not just good for high school students and staff in the building, but it's good for the whole community. There are lots of opportunities for events in the school. We'll continue with those opportunities. The design lets us open up the auditorium, gym, cafeteria, and other spaces for community access, and at the same time close off parts of the buildings that we might not want people to be in at different times of night. Improved opportunities around all our vocational programs, particularly the public facing ones. So if you're getting your car work done, you can come up and drop it off in a thoughtful way at our garage, the same way you would at any other garage, right? If you're dropping your kids off in the early childhood program, that there's a way to do that without going through the whole school. And also a nice transition place in the playground there for parents to say goodbye to their, like, and these are really little kids, right? Like 3 and 4 year olds, often early in the morning, or to transition at the end of the day together. And also with the greenhouses, the greenhouse, and then the public facing part of the greenhouse where the plant sales happen. But we think moving the greenhouse to the building and integrating it will be really important, primarily for young people. All sorts of talk about sustainability. I think Donna went into really good detail around that. You probably know we're running the heat pumps at the middle school with real success, but that's based on technology that's 20, probably 25 years out of date, and it's still working really well there. We're also part of a big solar collective, and we get a nice discount on our electricity already. So there are other opportunities there. A big one that I sort of gingerly talk about is this whole thing around campus safety. One of my nightmares of being a superintendent is that one of these terrible tragedies could happen. And if you've walked around the building now, you know there are hundreds of doors and windows. And sadly, it's really unsafe, right? If somebody wanted to come into the building, there are many ways they could come in. The new building really addresses all of that. And even with addressing all of it, we still have to train and drill and be focused on safety. The other one that we've heard a lot about, and we're meeting with the Department of Transportation again on Friday about this, is the whole entrance and exit. So we've done a lot over the years, and you'll leave today and you'll see there, like being in a pinball machine, there's so many flashing lights and warning indicators and everything, right? It's better than it was, but there's still opportunities to make it even better. And I think the 2 access roads in and out will help quite a bit. But we're hoping we may be able to figure something out with the DOT to address the broader issue on Route 7. And the last thing is, and I make this argument a lot, we invest in this, and we're investing in the community as a whole. As people come to our communities, they're drawn by the quality of our school system and what our schools do and afford. And as additional families come in, high functioning, well designed, thoughtful building where really thoughtful, engaging learning and instruction happens, sets us apart from many of our neighbors and other communities. And I think ensures the viability, particularly of our three towns, Great Barrington, Stockbridge, and West Stockbridge, but also of all of South County. So I think